In my last conversation with President Trump in the White House, he called me a lot. And this is after January 6th. So it's 2 weeks before, or a week before he's leaving office. He wanted to run past me the names of people he was going to pardon and sentences he was going to commute. He wanted my opinion on them. Some of them I knew. I said, "How you doing?" He said, "Not too well." And he went off into a tangent about what he thought happened with the election. I said, "You made a promise to the public many times and to me privately that you haven't kept." What? I'll take care of it right now. I said, "You promised you would release the records of the JFK assassination." He said to me, "Judge, if they showed you what they showed me, you wouldn't have released it either." And I said, "Who's they and what did they show you?" And then he said, "Judge, someday when we're on the phone," and then he raised his voice, "and there aren't 15 people listening to the phone call," back to a normal voice, "I'll tell you."
Oh my God.
I mean, this makes it sound even worse. Who are they? Probably somebody in the intelligence community. What did they show him? JFK's brains blown out?
This is it. It was said by one person that after the Kennedy assassination, there has been no president. They have only been factotums of the system since then.
Yeah.
It may well be the most decisive event in modern American history.
Right.
Whew. This is a spicy meatball. I don't know about you guys, but whew, what a day. 80,000 files from JFK dropped today, about 2 hours ago. Obviously, nobody's gone through them all yet, but it is coming out hot and heavy all over X. So I've compiled what I think is the juiciest bits so far. We're going to cover them. If anything else comes out, guys, during the course of this video, let me know so I can talk about it. But I'm going to cover as much as I possibly can. I've already got enough for a full show. And to add to it, today was a crazy day of news. Trump talking to Putin, so much going on. And JD Vance dropped an awesome speech. Elon Musk, great interview with Hannity, so much to cover. And yet the judges with Tren de Agua, the impeachment, all this stuff. Harry Sisson busted for sexual harassment of 11 women. My favorite, old gay Harry. I guess we can't call him that anymore. Now he's just bag. Sorry, YouTube. Sorry. But that, and then this whole episode of the Daily Wire might be bankrupt, just like I told you guys. It was a little fake, but it's crazy. It's an insane day. So I might cover a couple things at the end, but we're going to spend most of the time tonight unpacking the JFK files, what's new, and some stuff that isn't quite new but has been hidden for years that people haven't talked about that's still kind of shocking. This is the night you want to watch. It's historic, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So buckle up, guys. Buckle up. We got a lot of fun stuff here today. So let's see what's going on. Let me say hey to everybody real quick. A few people out here in the chat. Steve Bernard, numero uno tonight. Troy Mangirth, Mike, Zach Butterfield. What's up? Cassink, Wago Wako. Ready for the daily report. Roger, Pedro, Joe Scarpaggia, Darren Collins, Agent Orange, the one, what to do? Van Man Backcracker, Just Mike, Joe Kramer, Norton Man, Chad Yunkin, Michael Cantero, Eric Everett, Brian T, Marco Sanchez from Thailand. Welcome, buddy. Moody's in the house. Hero at large, Jerry D. So many good people. Okay, I can't hit everybody. There's so many of you. Jenny L. Good to see you, friend. Connie Neely. Yeah, did I read them all? It's 80,000. I did my best. Let me put it together. I've seen as much as I could possibly get through today. Just Mike says Harry's not a homo. No way. Absolutely. It was shocking to me too. You could say, and some have, that it might have been the biggest bombshell of the day. And hey, over on Rumble, I see you folks up there. T. Dolinen, Godfather 95, Sky Guy. What's going on in R1971? I have it set up so I can see you on Rumble tonight. And I'm going to do my best to check in with you guys as much as possible. So Rumble chat, keep it going as well, especially because it might be my future permanent home. We'll see. We'll see. Still no decision there, but I'll let you guys know. All right. Did you guys listen to the beginning right there? Napolitano was talking about the first Trump administration, first term, when Trump decided not to drop the JFK files. And we all know why. We've heard the story. Pompeo came to him and said, "You cannot drop this." And he told Trump why. And Trump was like, okay, now is not the time. For whatever reason, we don't know what he told him. We still don't know, because I don't know anything that juicy we've seen yet, but we're going to dig. We're going to keep digging. And trust me, there's 80,000 files out there. It's very possible something drops tonight, tomorrow, as people pour through it. So we don't know what that big thing was yet. And it could even be something tonight that was a bombshell that just has bigger repercussions, whether or not it's the massive bombshell everybody's expecting. We'll see. We'll see. There's one thing in particular that I think could be a big deal, especially for Trump in that first term. But then Jeffrey Sachs follows it up with something very interesting there. And he said that JFK, many have hypothesized that JFK is actually the last president. And ever since JFK, we've only had kind of people filling a role. In other words, after JFK's assassination, the deep state became the true leader of our country. And everybody else, except for Trump, has just been kind of a decorum, so to speak, an avatar of what our president should be. Now, I don't know how true that is or not. I would say there's probably some strong arguments both ways, but it's obviously they hated Trump, and they don't, he's the one who scares them because he's acting the most presidential and actually getting us back, cutting back the deep state to get the power back to the people, which is where it always is meant to be in America. But anyways, I don't know any of that. That's something that definitely we haven't figured out yet or seen evidence of. That is, you could say, nail in the coffin. It's there for sure. But again, who knows? And Moody's asking right now, are there more JFK files to be released? I don't know. I do think they've done a couple drops tonight, so we don't know if everything's been dropped yet. It could just be more is getting dropped over time. I'll say this was really interesting. Okay, so this was shared by the Quartering here. This video of JFK Jr.'s grandson, and he had a very interesting take on the files getting dropped, and it makes you wonder. Why would you say this? Let's watch.
You're better than this. This is so fucking stupid. There's so much actual news going on. Why are you covering this? At least report that something happened. I love you, Harry Anton. You're really smart. Why are you guys covering this? I love you, Aaron Burnett. You're really smart. Why are you covering this? Why are you covering this? Stop. This is why this shit takes hold, because you guys fucking cover it over and over and over again.
It's a little interesting, isn't it? The grandson of JFK. Now, almost all the Kennedys are total libtards. They even disowned RFK once he started working with Trump. They've gone crazy. But at the same time, this is your grandpa you're talking about. This is one of the greatest events in American history. Not greatest as in good, but greatest as in epic. This is one of the most sought after, studied events in American history. People don't have the answers. You would think, just like his uncle, RFK, who's stoked, who made a deal with Trump that you have to release these if I'm going to be on your team, you would think he'd want to know. So why not? Why be so upset about it? What is he afraid of is coming out? Now, Trump dropped this today. By the way, if you guys don't mind, just take a second, hit that like button, because YouTube doesn't like my channel. So anything we can do to just give it a little boost I really appreciate it. So if you like what I'm doing here, hit that like. If you're on Rumble, hit that like as well. I appreciate it. Trying to grow on Rumble so I can make a decision if I'm going there full time. And if you're watching on X, you can't like this video, but you can like the post and you can follow. So anyways, thanks guys. If you're new, please subscribe. All right. So Trump, this was his statement today. And there's one reason I'm not going to read this whole thing, but I want to read one thing Trump said before we get started here, because I think this is actually really important. Trump's executive order stated the continued redaction and withholding of information from records pertaining to the assassination of JFK is not consistent with the public interest, and the release of these records is long overdue. So I wanted to read that one statement right there because I think it's important to note there is some redaction in these files. However, I don't necessarily believe they were newly redacted. I think these are things that might have been redacted a long time ago because Trump's order is pretty specific. I don't want anything newly redacted. So I just wanted to throw that statement out there before people get upset with Trump or as we go into the files. I don't think anything I'm sharing tonight's redacted, but I just thought that was an important thing to share. And just like heading into this, it's important to recognize that, hey, promises made, promises kept. Just like quartering rights here, regardless of what comes out. He said he'd do it, and I consider 80,000 files a promise kept. Now do Epstein. Now, we've all talked about Epstein on this channel many times. You guys know I fully believe Epstein files are coming, and I think they have good reason not to do it yet. But having said that, to me, tonight is just more proof that we're going to get there. We're going to get there because Trump he's backing everything up. He's backing everything up. So, right now, this is one of the craziest parts. What's up, Roger Q Patriot, Nels and Q Alerts over there on Rumble? How's it going? Good to see you guys. Alan says a few of them like the ideas of being idolized, talking about Kennedy grandchildren. I think that's possible for sure. Absolutely. All right. This is a little clue into what they want redacted the most. And this also, to me, might be one of the main things that there might be secrets pertain to this that Trump is kind of the things that Pompeo shared with Trump that it just wasn't time yet. And that is this connection to Israel. So the newly released JFK files revealed CIA had no objection to declassifying a document except for one detail. Any mention of Israeli intelligence service remains strictly off limits. Here's the document where it says, CIA has no objection to declassification and or release of this information except for the brackets. And in the brackets, it says the Israeli intelligence service. That's pretty interesting. Wouldn't you say? So what did Israel have to do with this? Well, in the released JFK files, there's a confirmation of an intelligence pipeline between CIA and Israeli intelligence, personally overseen by CIA counterintelligence chief James Angleton. This wasn't just routine intel sharing. It was a deliberate effort to conceal Israel's involvement in sensitive U.S. operations, bypassing the standard intelligence channels. Angleton acted as a sole gatekeeper, ensuring all Israeli-related intelligence was filtered through him alone. He controlled the flow of intel to the FBI, carefully scrubbing reports to ensure Israeli intelligence was never directly named, covert operation hidden in plain sight. So here's the man, Angleton himself. You can see Israel in the documents right here. It says, as you are aware, James Angleton of CIA frequently turned over to the Bureau on a highly confidential basis information, which has been developed through operations headed by him. This is dated 1954, so 9 years before the files. But there is the connection here. Again, Israeli intelligence asking for the brackets to be so. Again, I haven't had time to go through every detail on these, so we're reading the highlights tonight, and as more comes out, I'll be covering it in future videos. Okay, but just the insane stuff going on, and this also confirms many of our suspicions that not only is there probably CIA stuff going on here, connections, but also also Israel. Here we go right now. Look what we have here. Israel's involvement, once again, quietly embedded in classified intelligence operations. How much influence have they really had over U.S. affairs behind the scenes? This document just scratches the surface. And it says right here, such instances where the information relates to Israeli matters has been the practice of Israeli supervisors to clear with Angleton before disseminating from him outside the bureau. So they had complete power over what this man was disseminating, which is not good, not something you want to see if you are, if you're as an American, that another intelligence agency is giving us direction on what we can speak or not. Walker Lanebrain, hey, welcome to the chat. You were brand new. It's great to have you. He says that grandson that just popped up doesn't have real relationship with his long deceased grandpa compared to RFK Jr. It's a good point. It's a good point, but still, you would still think like there's a lot of connection there that you would think you'd still want something out there. JR says, I have a well-placed friend, well-placed in quotation marks, who said Pompeo nixed declassification during the first term because there were assets still alive at the time. Now that's interesting. That's interesting. I wonder which assets he's talking about. Okay, we one more breakdown on this. Hello, Israel. A declassified U.S. office memorandum dated April 30th, 1954 from Branyan to H. Belmont marked secret details James Angleton's handling of the documents. Angleton's direct coordination with the FBI often bypassed CIA channels, causing concerns over unverified information shared with the Bureau. Doc highlights his constant reliance on Israeli intelligence sources, noting he supplied unverified data to the FBI. It was recommended he be assigned a temporary informant signal to regulate Israeli intelligence data. To be clear, these connections have already been known, but what's significant is the now established fact that none of what the Israeli intel sources were feeding Angleton was Vedum. In other words, Israeli intel said, trust me, bro. So they were just feeding us info for us to act on, for us to work with without even, and we didn't even vet it. We just took it. And one of the craziest parts about this being 1954, this means that only 6 years in to Israel's existence as a nation, their intelligence was already working overtime to influence our intelligence. And I guarantee you, if the forms would ever come out, that same thing with British intelligence, MI6, anywhere. I mean, you name it, anywhere that is in the West, Israel was already dipping their hands in. That's very interesting. Vinman writes, with Israel, think of it like Biden and crew taking over America. That's what happened in Israel. Interesting thought there. Vinman says, the Dems and globalists set up shop in Israel. No, I agree with that. I do. Michael Anthony, this is from the newly released JFK files, if you're wondering. Just like Harry Sassoon, David Hogg. Oh, God. All right, here we go. Roger Stone wrote this tonight. He's been dropping some bombs because I think now that the files are out, he feels more comfortable dropping some of this. He says, President Nixon told me the Warren Commission was the biggest goddamn hoax in American history. He also told me Lyndon Johnson and I both wanted to be president. The difference was I wasn't willing to kill for it. One of these days, we're going to have to unpack the whole Nixon thing about how he actually wasn't such a bad guy and definitely not such a bad president. So this is crazy stuff. But, Nixon gets a bad rap because the Dems smeared him and they successfully removed him. And they were in control fully of the media right then. And they valorized it through movies like All the President's Men, which is a great movie, but a horrific piece of propaganda. It's all lies, making Woodward and Bernstein look like heroes when they're total hacks. But the more you learn. Not the leftists in this country still consider that one of the great movies ever. It's like their big win against the establishment, and it's going to take a long time till they wake up from that realization. All right, let's keep going. More interesting stuff here. As the new JFK files released today, this guy says this is one of the most unbelievable discoveries. Just note real quick. Real quick note on this. This has been known before, okay? But it's now out in the public spaces in a way that's never been covered before. And that is the fact that JFK Jr. called Biden a traitor in 1994. Remember JFK Jr. died in a plane crash? Apparently he was one of the good ones. But it says right here in the file, down where it's hard for me to read, but it says, in a handwritten letter dated 8/26/94 beginning, Dear Senator Biden, you are a traitor, bearing the signature John F. Kennedy Jr. Interesting stuff. Very interesting stuff. If the Kennedys were calling Biden a traitor 30 years ago, what would have changed in that time? You just ask yourself that. Remember, at this point, Biden already ran his first presidential campaign, which he lost because he got busted for plagiarism and for lying about how he graduated tops in his class in his university. I mean, the guy was already busted in '88, and somehow that just didn't come out this time in the election, which that's pretty crazy. That's pretty wild stuff. Big B says, what's up? Camping out in Bishop, California. Bishop's beautiful. I've been up there a few times. JFK files fire. They're interesting. I wouldn't say we've gotten this crazy fire drop yet, but what I'm covering, there's definitely some interesting stuff, including moving on right here. As Moody says, after calling Biden a traitor and so on and so forth, then JFK Jr. got Hillaried. Hero says, killed Hillary. Yep. All right. Another drop here. Upon learning of JFK's assassination, Cuban diplomats, I think this one's really interesting. Cuban diplomats immediately assumed the CIA killed JFK for the purpose of finishing what it started with Bay of Pigs. Quote, if the Yankees or CIA assassinated Kennedy to resume the assault on Cuba, then a third world war could start, assuming the U.S. would try to blame Cuba. Well, they were wrong about this. They did blame the other communists, the Soviets, and they did use it to accelerate the Cold War, but it wasn't in Cuba, it was in Vietnam, which Kennedy, by all accounts, was going to keep us out of. And that is something that's been documented by none other than Oliver Stone, among others, who's done some of the best work on JFK, even though some of his stuff has been discredited. I still think overall he does great work, and he keeps updating his work as he goes. So he's not one of those who says like, once I figured out something, I was completely right. No, he keeps, and so he's admitted some things have changed, but as done a lot of great work, Oliver Stone. So Kennedy was going to keep us out. They used this to get in. So Cuba was right about that. And it says in a separate disposition, one American intelligence operative noted that multiple CIA assets connected to a particular CIA agent had been spreading misinformation. Hey, it's not just a term used by Democrats today. It's a CIA created word from a long time ago, that Cuba was behind the assassination in the immediate wake. So there was at least a couple people trying to blame Cuba. So they weren't completely wrong there. Isn't that interesting how that all plays together? How Cuba could think something like that would happen, and then it does happen, although not to the large extent I think they expected. Roger, someone needs to load these files into AI instead. Oh, trust me, there are plenty of people who've already unloaded it into Grok and are working through it. Uncle Andy says the Levant affair, where Israel attempted to kill U.S. soldiers and their families with bombings in Egypt to blame on the Muslim Brotherhood, was in 1954, and we were taking their intelligence. Interesting. I haven't researched the Levant affair. That's I need to do some more research in the 50s. Just Mike, Nixon was succeeded by Ford, who was CIA, 100%. Ford is the only president never elected as president or vice president. Awfully convenient. Bush Sr. was also CIA. What? Ford was elected as vice president. Wasn't he Nixon's vice president? I think you're wrong about that. But he did become, and there also was, there was another president who died and the VP took over. So, but in modern history, you're right. Bush Sr. was CIA. In fact, he was the CIA director. I don't know if it was at this time, but it was soon around this time. Yeah, and he was also in Dallas when Kennedy died. And when he's asked about it, he conveniently says, I don't remember where I was that day. Very convenient, George Bush Sr. Very convenient. So Roger says that was before spreading misinformation became legal under Obama. That's correct. Before he legalized the government spreading propaganda to the people in 2014. Walker Lanebrain says, we know Biden plus other DC swamp dinosaurs are all traitors, but we definitely need more context why JFK Jr. called him that in a letter. And yep, makes his plane crash death highly sus. Not only that, you know who is going to work for, or not work, who is running for Congress as the senator of New York against Hillary Clinton and was sure to win. I know it was a dark period in history and maybe a lot of you have blocked it out of your minds, but after the Clintons were president, Hillary at the end of the term ran for New York senator and won. And her opponent in the primary was going to be none other than JFK Jr., who was going to be a shoo-in. And then he suspiciously died in a plane crash. So Spiro Agnew was the VP of Nixon. Okay, you guys are right. I totally forgot. Thank you for that. You guys corrected me. And now that as soon as you said it, I remember. Well done. Well done. I'd forgot that Spiro had stepped down as well. Well done, guys. Well done. You did it. You did it. You got me. You got me. JFK Jr. not making a dollar. Okay, I don't quite get what you're saying, but Matt, it's okay. All right, let's keep moving. Mike Benz posts this. Spicy, but also how refreshing to see him say it like it is. Instead of cloaking the whole thing in weasel language like building resilience and promoting democracy, a lot of people yearn for the drive-thrus and milkshakes of the 50s. I yearn for its honesty about dirty work. And I just find this funny. But this CIA document released in these files, which this is the kind of stuff we're getting extra on top of the on top of all the details of JFK. It's just some of the crazy stuff about the CIA. And one of those things is this right here. Political and psychological warfare report on the Cold War use of radio broadcasting by the CIA. Attached here too is our report on CIA broadcasting as a Cold War weapon. Wow. That is wild. It deals with embraces a discussion of techniques available to CIA. Down here, the principal problems peculiar to covertly directed broadcasting on their solution. CIA radio broadcasting, data on broadcasting hours by countries obtained from FBI and VOA. Just interesting stuff. CIA flat out admitting that they were using radio broadcasts as propaganda weapons. And again, just like he said, they were more honest about it back then. Okay, here is one of the crazier things that has come out in this file. Now, this is a letter from this Sergey Sornak. I can't say that. It's very tough to say. But wrote it to the U.S. House of Representatives, to the Russian ambassador, and he says, Mr. Vasily Consul gave me order to transmit this information to the U.S. government. Mrs. These names, man. Basora Asanova, girlfriend of Russian consul, came to my room and repeated that Mr. Lee Harvey Oswald is assassin. Should I say it in a Russian voice? He's assassin. I can't do it. That was terrible. He will kill President Kennedy. On August 15th, 1963, in Sofia, Bulgaria, just a month before Kennedy died, at the airport, an embassy car. This is so Russian English. I told to Miss Slackshire, American Vice Consul, that Mr. Lee Harvey Oswald is assassin. He has a weapon or has ordered one. Miss Blackshire said it seems like he will kill someone. I said, Mr. Lee Harvey Oswald is preparing to kill President of the United States, John F. Kennedy. Said, where will it happen? I said, they, right wing, which is interesting, will invite president, criticize him in the newspaper, then kill him. Said he will give the telegram to Department of State, and he gave me the address where to report. I went to see Director of Special Counseling Service, Department of State, 1901 Pennsylvania Avenue. Told the director I have information about President Kennedy. Director said, do not mention the name of him, only respond to the questions. Director said, tell us what will happen to Mr. Lee Harvey Oswald then. I said, Mr. Lee Harvey Oswald will be killed after kills Kennedy. I said, I will take the truth drug to tell the truth. Director, tell us who else gets killed in this country. I said, as I heard, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. will be killed. This is wild. Who will kill Dr. King Jr., Negro leader? I said, a man who is in prison at this time. In parentheses, Mr. James Earl Ray was in prison at that time. Director asked where the assassination will happen. I said, in Dallas, Texas. Director said, if someone gave this information here, I would expel the man. Director called on FBI agents after FBI used anesthesia gas to freeze me, to drug me, to keep amnesia. I told Director of Department, Lee Harvey Oswald have a weapon. Go see him. He said, you too can have a weapon. Wild. That is a wild statement right there. And this is dated. So this is 1977. This is a statement from August 14th, 1963. Or sorry, August 19th, 1963. Wild stuff. Wild stuff. Now, like you guys, I don't believe Oswald was the only one there. Okay, I really don't. And obviously there's all the stuff with Kennedy's head and how it whipped back, and just that makes it very difficult to believe that there was one shooter. And also in these files, there is a file, and I don't think I have it pulled up tonight, but it says that Oswald was a terrible shot. Well, if that miracle shot he made by himself, that had never been done by a bad shot. So just again, there's more here, but we haven't uncovered that yet. And I'll be getting to that in a minute. Now, here's another very interesting post. This one's shared by Charlie Kirk. Now this, just to preface it, this has already been known. However, it hasn't surfaced in a very long time, and it was not treated seriously before. So this is from magazine. Day after the assassination, Gary Underhill left Washington in a hurry. Late in the evening, he showed up at the home of friends in New Jersey. He was very agitated. A small clique within the CIA was responsible for the assassination. He confided, and he was afraid for his life and probably would have to leave the country. Less than 6 months later, Underhill was found shot to death in his Washington apartment. The coroner ruled it suicide. Not only was he shot to death, he was shot on the left side of the head, and yet he was right-handed. So that's interesting, don't you think? J. Garrett Underhill has been an intelligence agent during World War II and was recognized authority on limited warfare and small arms. Researcher and writer on military affairs, he was a first-name basis with many of the top brass in the Pentagon. He was also on intimate terms with a number of high-ranking CIA officials. He was one of the agency's people who performed special assignments. Does not seem like a liar. At one time, been a friend of Samuel Cummings of Interarmco, the arms broker, the numbers around its customers, CIA, and ironically, Klein Sporting Goods of Chicago. In other words, this guy was connected. If anybody knew where the bodies were, it would be somebody like him. Another update here. This memo from 2 days after the assassination shows Lee Harvey Oswald actively being monitored by the CIA at least 59 days before JFK was assassinated. Why would they be monitoring him? Is it because they had a plan in place? It seems like, I mean, think of all the shootings we have these days and how these people have been monitored by the FBI. It's very interesting how that just seems to be a recurring theme. Monitored by the FBI, go kill people. Just, seems to happen a lot. Oswald made contact with the Soviet embassy in Mexico City where he inquired about travel to the USSR. This had always been theorized. I don't know if it had been confirmed before today. This document hints the CIA might have been using Oswald. His tracked visit, combined with no apparent action despite his Soviet ties, suggests he could have been an asset or pawn under surveillance, not just a lone figure. And there you go. Not just a lone figure. Moody says, MK Ultra victim. I completely concur with that. I really do. I think that's absolutely true. Vinman says we all know all the president's been was complete BS. That is very true. Alan says that was the time you witnessed Kenny funeral in grade school. Oh man, that's wild. Brett says, "What's up, Marco? Didn't they see the two shooters were in Zoolander? Models on the grassy hill. I forgot about that part. That's on the second Zoolander. That I think that's. Oh no, that's the first one. That's when David Duchovny's talking. Yeah, that's a great part. Anna Paulina Luna says the file shows there's likely two shooters. Oh yeah, we're gonna get to that in a second. Don't worry. Oswald groomed to be the fall guy says just Mike. 100% agree with that. Walker says CIA has done a lot of evil, sudden toppling of governments, nations, selling more America-friendly. Kind of like Ukraine in 2014. Color Revolution. Anybody? Yep. Well, yeah. You say that in the next one. 100%. Yes, the CIA has been doing that, and now we know, thanks to Elon Musk and Doge, that a lot of that was done using U.S. aid, which is very interesting. Another update I got here is this memo sent from CIA's Mexico City station to headquarters the day after the assassination, detailing Oswald's activities in Mexico from sensitive and reliable source. Confirms he visited Soviet embassy, meaning Valery Kostikov, and the Cuban embassy for a visa. This shows CIA had eyes on his Soviet and Cuban contacts weeks before the death, yet never detained. Significant because it questions why was no action taken despite links to KGB wet affairs operative, hinting CIA possibly knew planning to do, just like in the document earlier. Kostikov connection tied to assassination stands out. Even if not new, its timing in this post-assassination memo suggests CIA scrambling to possibly covering things up, which is also very interesting stuff. And finally, we have Anna Paulina Luna saying she believes there's more and she's going to dig them up. So she says the file I'm particularly interested is a CIA Inspector General report from whistleblowers alleging that the CIA hid info from Congress referring JFK assassination as it implicating them shortly after assassination. We were given this as a tip, and there's actually a document we're currently tracking down. Now, I'm sure there's even more coming out as I speak. X is just blowing up with this stuff. People are piling through it. I don't think I would be surprised if there's not a lot more to come in the next couple of days. 80,000 pages is a lot to go through. So unless it's a lot of just the same old thing, we got a lot more coming. I mean, this has only been out now for 3 hours, 3.5 hours. So there's a lot more to go through. There's just 80,000 documents. There's no way even the entire internet pouring through these can get it all out within 3-4 hours. It's just not going to happen. So be ready. I'll be covering more, I promise, as this comes out. And I think we're going to get more. I think, I really hope at least we find out details on the two shooters and maybe some more specific ties. I will say there are people who speculate and truly believe that Lyndon Johnson 60 years ago actually had most of the files destroyed back then. I hope that's not true. I hope that they either made a mistake or they made mistakes or missed something. I hope we get more smoking guns. I really do. But as of right now, if nothing else, it's very interesting. And if nothing else, this confirms, in my opinion, at least, because there's so much circumstantial evidence. I think at this point, it's pretty easy to say this is definitely a connection to the CIA. I don't think there's any denying that at this point. Now, I know we don't have the smoking gun to connect it, but I would say I think we really have to admit that that's there. And then the other thing is the connections quite possibly to Israel. And so that is something that I hope we get more breakdown on, because I do believe that these JFK files and what's starting to come out is a beginning. I believe the Trump presidency, the Trump administration is running its own operation right now. And that operation is to slowly eke out more truths from Kennedy forward over what's been going on behind the scenes in our government for the last 60 years, how we got here, how dark things really are, how bad and real the deep state really is. And I believe it's going to be a progression. I think it's going to be JFK, MLK, 9/11, and all the way just whatever else they got until we get to the Epstein files. I believe they're actually going to end with that. I do. I think this is a beginning, because you know why? It's easier to wake up a population if you start at the beginning and move them forward. And listen, there's a lot of us who've been studying these things. There's a lot of us who know a lot of this stuff already. We've been deep diving it. We've heard this stuff. We've listened to the people who are actually out there trying to get the truth out there. But listen, most people just still don't know. Most people think that those of us even watching this right here are crazy. They really do. And it's just, this has to happen through everywhere. Now that X is the main broadcast, you saw JFK Jr.'s grandson yelling at CNN. CNN's covering this. I mean, this is everywhere. And so there's the only people that are not going to start waking up a little bit as these things start dripping out are the people who just can't be bothered. All they want to look at all day is Instagram and come home and watch Netflix and drink their red wine and go to sleep. That's it. The people completely checked out. And there's no helping them anyways. There's no getting through to them anyways. All right. So, but this, I believe, is just the beginning. And so I will continue to cover this as if anything big comes out, because I just think this could end up the full story, not necessarily what we got today, but the full story as it breaks down from now until we get more and more files. Trump, I think, releasing this was a big signal that we're going to get it all. I really do. I think this is just the beginning. I really do. Apparently, after he made the big announcement yesterday, there were still several people who didn't want him to release them. They were scrambling. And in fact, I heard that several lawyers, in fact, I think I saw the number was 500, were pouring through the documents today just to make sure that, getting ready to cover themselves or the government for whatever they're going to go through. These people are freaking out about this stuff. They really are. And by the way, a lot of people are like, why do you wait so long to release it? Well, actually, one of the reasons they waited is because they brought the astronauts home. That's another big deal that happened today. The astronauts were brought home from the space station, and they were waiting till they got home safe, and so everybody could celebrate them coming home first, which, shows that this administration has class, honestly. All right. Let me catch up with a couple of you guys, and then I'm going to cover a couple other things before the end of the show. Alan Krantz, Bush was the director of the CIA. In fact, when was George Bush director of CIA? I want to remember the exact. Okay. Apparently he was only director of the CIA for 2 years. So, but still, yes, he was director of the CIA. Interestingly enough, he was director during the last couple of years of Gerald Ford. So there you go. Marco says, are any of the people involved in assassination still alive? I don't think so. But it doesn't matter, because at this point, it's not about going after the people who might have been involved with JFK. At this point, it's about waking up the people and waking them up so that we can go after those who are guilty today. Steven says, surprised I'm not speaking about updates in the market. Well, that's the other thing. There's just so much. I covered the market pretty in depth last night. I'll cover it again very soon. But yes, the market is in terrible shape. Hero says LBJ destroyed the evidence just like J6, and it's very possible, but that doesn't mean we got everything. Colonel Mustard. Cody Burgess says, you mean our own government took out JFK? Well, I believe that's very possibly true. So many allegations, as of yet not completely confirmed, that Lyndon Johnson had a big part to play in it, but also a lot of evidence pointing towards the CIA having organized this. Why? Because JFK was going to end the industrial war machine. He did not want any part of it, and they wanted to ramp up the Cold War. So Moody says, I think the real purpose releasing these files is to show people the deaths as you say. Amen. Yeah. Vince says, did Junior die in that plane crash? I do believe he did. I'm not one of those people who doesn't believe that. Hero says 97 likes. Smash the like. Thank you guys. Let's hit that like button and subscribe. I do have some more I'm going to still cover tonight. Brett says, I'm surprised the judge didn't make the astronauts go back to the space station like he did with the immigrants. I love it. Ted Cruz's father. I haven't seen anything on Ted Cruz's father. I did see somebody mention that, but I haven't seen any about that. Ruth Payne. Who's Ruth Payne? I'm sorry. I don't know that name. All right. Out of all the JFK stuff, which is a big effing deal, just like Joe Biden said to Obama when they passed Obamacare, this is a big effing deal. Hey, man, this is a big effing deal. Come on, man. Well, we got another big effing deal. Bombshell of bombshells. I say this just blew my mind today. This is one of the craziest things I've seen in a while that I just was shocked. And it's the fact that Harry Sisson is not fully gay. My God, what is happening? I thought we got this one pegged. I could have sworn that was 100%. I'm not sure about a lot. I was pretty sure on this one. This is the bombshell of bombshells today. Harry Sisson, the Democrat TikToker, big friend of Biden, liar, cheater, jumping behind, all this crazy stuff, is busted today because he had convinced 11 different women they had no roster, kept them around, and had them sending him nudes on Snapchat. Dirty dude. But he was being dirty with the ladies, which is shocking to me. Just did not expect it. And the girls are all coming out, calling him out, ruining his reputation. And, you just hate to see him fall so hard because, I mean, this wonderful boy, I just cannot stand. I mean, let's just remember, like, he's a man of the women. I'll never understand how Trump voters can look their daughters, mothers, and wives in the eye and tell them they voted for a proven sexual abuser. Well, Harry, I think you understand a little better now. I'm sorry. I had to cover this one because I just can't stand this kid. I just wanted to revel in it for a minute. It's nuts. He is, he's just legitimately, I think, one of the worst people alive. And that's saying a lot, being that he's 21 and should not be as in bad a place as he is already. But yeah, that's how it is. So anyways, somebody says there's a was he sending Joe the pics? I'm sure he is. Was that Cody says a Marilyn Monroe bombshell? Is there a Marilyn Monroe bombshell? If there is, send it to me on X and I'll go over it. I'm sure there's some more stuff coming out even as we're talking about JFK, guys. I really do. Wrong Way Corrigan says there was an X tonight saying a lower court judge ruled against Elon. The astronaut should be returned. Oh, it's already been done. You missed the joke earlier. Brett got to you first. He's more gay than that. Vinman says BS, like JFK and the BS rumors have been fooling around with Marilyn Monroe to distract from JFK fooling around with his boyfriend. What? I've never heard this about JFK. Are you saying Harry Sassone is a liar? You saying they're trying to make him more manly through this? It's not going to work. I mean, have you seen this guy's face? There's not a good picture of him because it's a little blocked, but this guy could not be more manly if he. I don't think there's any testosterone in him, which is, makes you wonder how he got excited over these girls in the first place. Randy said, "Oh yeah, you're just quoting the quote. It can be a duck or chicken." All right, now there is actually one more big story that's pretty crazy that I'm going to cover. And guys, like at the beginning of tonight's live, I went over. There's 10 stories that are huge today, and I'm not going to get to all of them. There's just too much going on. Tomorrow's a members live. I'm going to go over Finger and some stuff tomorrow night on that. And we'll cover some of these stories, unless tomorrow's crazy too. And maybe some of these stories I'll never get to. All right. But it is what it is. There's only so much I can cover every night, because today was one of those days where it was just like, shoo, shoo. I felt like Neo in the Matrix, just bullets of news being sent at me. But there's one more story I want to cover tonight that is kind of it's a big deal. It's a bombshell because it impacts the entire magosphere. All right. And it's something that I feel like I've been talking about already. And now this is just major confirmation that what I was showing you guys that I believe to be true was correct. And that is Jeremy Boring stepping down from Daily Wire today, and a lot of talk about the Daily Wire and how it's just completely falling apart behind the scenes, how it is they've been lying about how well they're doing. And Ian Carroll breaks it down really well here. So I'm going to play a little bit of his video. But if you guys remember, it was just like a week or two ago, I was showing you how you can identify influencers that are kind of fake. They have a lot of subscribers, but their videos don't get that much views based on their subscribers. And we were going over Ben Shapiro's videos. I've told you guys about how the Daily Wire is kind of a hoax before. And honestly, this just proves me right. And who this also validates is the only person I've seen talking about this stuff on a public angle before is Milo. And so we covered some of his stuff the other day as well, about how he's calling out conservative influencers. And it's important because we got to call out our own side, because there's ops coming from the right as well. But the downfall of the Daily Wire has begun. And so I'm going to play a little bit of this video from Ian, because there's some crazy stuff starting to come out.
The Daily Wire is going bankrupt, allegedly, and Jeremy Boring is officially out as CEO. That's right. The self-proclaimed God King of the Daily Wire is at the heart of so many scandals. And yes, he is self-described as the God King. And the email just went out today internally that he is stepping down, and now Axios is covering the story. It has not yet broken, as far as I'm aware, that private equity is moving in and looking to buy up the Daily Wire. I heard, rumor mill, that Silver Lake Capital is looking to buy them up. And Silver Lake, you guys might want to watch this video before you think too hard about it, because there's a lot that is not in the public square right now. We're about to get into stuff like canceled credit cards, lying to the press, trying to trick Tim Pool. As far as I can tell from my sources, even people inside of the Daily Wire only know part of the story, and they're all kind of getting played against each other. It's a whole mess. And the most important part of this mess is that the Daily Wire has a long history of treating their employees like shit. And so I've had numerous sources inside the Daily Wire for quite some time, because everyone hates them, even their own people. That's not to mention the numerous sources outside of the Daily Wire that did not take the NDA money on the way out. Like, I had people literally in my comments on Instagram offering to give me dirt on the Daily Wire because they hated the Daily Wire so much. It's out of control. And it all centers around the God King and his fucking massive ego. and his lifelong desire to be a famous actor and make it in Hollywood, which he failed at originally years and years and years ago. And so once the Daily Wire was off the ground, he just couldn't help but try to turn the Daily Wire into a Hollywood movie studio and produce the Pendragon series. Note that this article is from 2023. And he said that he had dreamt of bringing this book to the screen for 25 years. It was due to stream exclusively on Daily Wire Plus in 2024. Why didn't that happen? That's a good question. And that leads to us talking about all the Daily Wire's employees' credit cards getting frozen, allegedly.
All right, so it goes on for 6 minutes. He just keeps uncovering it, but the crazy part is that it's just proof. It's just proof that the Daily Wire is in big trouble. So that's Ben Shapiro, Jordan Peterson, Matt Walsh. Now, listen, some of those guys are independently wealthy. They are going to be fine. But the Daily Wire itself, where they all came together, is falling apart. And this is a big deal. The Daily Wire is one of the biggest conservative outlets for news. But first of all, I've said this many times before, but Shapiro has basically outright admitted that he's more loyal to Israel than the U.S. And that is the big, even though Boring was in charge, Shapiro started the Daily Wire. And so that's the big red flag right there, that you can't trust the Daily Wire. And then on top of that, they were quick to dump Trump as soon as he left. They were quick to jump behind DeSantis. And to me, that's always a red flag in the conservative MAGA sphere, is that when the people who were so quick to jump away from Trump, they are the establishment Republicans. They're the ones who don't really want Trump to fully succeed. They are the neocons. They want the war machine to keep going. They liked the uniparty system, the trade-off. Here, you guys get a little bit, the Democrats get a little bit. We keep going back and forth. They like that system. They are not true believers, no matter how good they are at creating content about it. And so, I'm not saying every single influencer, but I'm saying the people behind the people. And so to me, this is kind of awesome validation that I was completely right about the Daily Wire all along, but it also is more proof that we're getting purged too. And this is a good thing. It's a good thing the Republican Party the MAGA party is being purged. So we're getting rid of everybody who's a fake. There was a Republican state senator in Minnesota today, busted for going after a kid, pedo, busted for trying to sleep with a 16-year-old girl. He had a wife and 4 children. They looked like the perfect little Mormon family, just all like dressed to the gills, just perfect. They look so nice and happy. And yet that's what they're doing. I mean, and we need that to get busted. He was the one who actually introduced articles into Minnesota to declare TDS a disease. So he was playing a good game. He was celebrated yesterday, busted today. And we need that. We need it every single time. And yeah, some of these people that fall, it might hurt. But get ready, because exposure is not just the other side. I hate to tell you guys, it's not only the Democrats who are going to go down. They are going down, and they're going to go down harder and bigger. Okay. Because it's worse on their side, far worse, because they went all in. But the Republicans have slowly been being purged and being taken over by MAGA. And we do run the party now, but there's still purging to be done. And this is just more proof of that. Roger says there's no perfect Mormon family. I grew up in a heavy Mormon community. Well, obviously there's no perfect families ever. I'm just saying they had that look, you know what I mean. What's going on, Linda Telly? Good to see you. And guys, as we were talking and going over the Daily Wire stuff, there's actually a couple things that dropped on the JFK files since I started this. So I'm going to go cover a couple more things. This is happening in real time. Okay. But there's a couple things I want to go over that just are coming out of here still. We got so much more news to cover the next couple of days, including what all these judges are doing to stop the Trump administration. But a couple quick things to go over. Right here, we have Mario Nafal shares JFK files, FBI rushed to shut down conspiracy talk hours after Oswald's death. Just hours after Jack Ruby killed Lee Harvey Oswald, which, by the way, the files, I didn't talk about it, but files also prove that Ruby and Oswald been friends for a while. Ruby killed Oswald. Director J. Edgar Hoover demanded a quick public report to stop conspiracy theories from spreading. What a good job you did there, Hoove. Well done. Not. There's the old Wayne's World coming out of me. Hoover wrote, there is nothing further on the Oswald case except he's dead, and wanted to ensure the public believed Oswald acted alone. Wanted to ensure the public believed Oswald acted alone. Isn't that a weird way to phrase it? Instead of just saying, Oswald acted alone, and, so we're going to provide everything on that. So, no, it's instead he uses the word, we want to make sure they believe. That's interesting stuff. The memo also shows the FBI was frustrated Oswald's murder left them without a chance to get more answers. FBI frustrated his murder left them without a chance to get more answers. That sounds kind of like a setup, right? Rather than investigate further, the FBI pushed for a clear and simple conclusion before the facts were even in. And so that's a very interesting one. And then here's this. The CIA was sending hundreds of agents into Cuba under the guise of students. So just more of how the CIA was operating. And again, imagine how many foreign and Chinese students in America today are currently spies. You can bet a lot of them. I would say high percentage, anywhere from 40 to 70%, I would imagine. Because the Chinese, they're smart and they learn from us. Michael Anthony says, I always heard it was 2 shots from different locations. Well, that's what we're hoping we get the smoking gun for, because it really would be hard to believe it otherwise. Brett says, tinfoil hat theory. Do I think hunters in South Africa are potentially collecting for the big guy? Odd place to be vacationing. Oh, yeah. I mean, I think I said that last night. I truly don't believe when Hunter Biden got caught with the Secret Service in South Africa. You don't go to South Africa to vacation, especially if you're white. You just don't. They hate white people down there. So, yeah, he definitely went there as an operation of some sort. Hoover was a flaming homo. Yeah, there's a lot of evidence towards that, as for sure. H.W. Bush was JFK's father. Now I can't even tell if you're making stuff up or not, Vin. How do you say that? They don't even look alike. So you're saying he was brothers with John, Robert, or Bobby, and Teddy? He doesn't look like a Kennedy or talk like one. I find that very difficult to believe. You got to be messing around with me. And this is the last one I saw that I wanted to share, and it's because it has to do exactly with the deep state narrative, and that is this. JFK files show Arthur Schlesinger Jr. wrote to JFK, the CIA had become like a state within a state. What a way to phrase it. How crazy is that? Instead of deep state, a state within a state. That's basically the exact same thing as saying deep state. I mean, a state embedded within our government. That is a wild thing to say. And asked, what sort of secret activity is consistent with the preservation of a free social order? These are wild things coming out. They really are. And I know we haven't gotten that smoking gun we all want yet. The validation of the second shooter, Kennedy's body, was it swapped out? There's all these things out there that have a lot of circumstantial evidence, and we haven't got that smoking gun yet. The exact ties to the CIA, and we want them, and I'm hoping we find more. But again, the circumstantial evidence is definitely building with these files. And most people read this stuff and they're not likely to just blow it off. They're going to say, well, that's kind of weird. And that's enough. If we can get enough people who read these things and say, that's strange, that will start waking people up. And that's what we want to see. Hunter is now the hunted. Yeah, Roger. Van Man, yeah, send me a picture. Walker says, the annoying Obama and Biden appointed judges actively conspiring, committing insurrection against a duly elected president. I tend to agree. We really need the Supreme Court to slap down all these district judges and make a ruling that makes it impossible for them to act on some of these actions Trump's taking, to really reestablish the executive authority. That's what we need from the Supreme Court. And so hopefully that comes soon, because even though it sounds cool to impeach these judges, you need 2/3 of Congress to do it. It's not going to happen. None of these judges are going to get removed. You're not going to get 2/3 of Congress to do it. So it's kind of a waste of time, even though it's good optics. What we really need is the Supreme Court to step in. And I think Trump's going to force it by starting to ignore some of these orders. All right. Alan says, Hunter is in hiding from Ukraine mobsters. What better way to hide than a country that hates whites? Well, that's interesting. Maybe that's possible. That's possible. All right, Vin Man, let me see what you got here. So you are serious. All right. So that's John F. Kennedy Jr. or John F. Kennedy, not Jr. and George Bush. You know, I don't know. I don't think they look like brothers. George's head's bigger, goes out here. His eyes are different. Kennedy's nose is wider. His smile kind of tilts down while his is just really straight up. Do they both have cleft chins? His cleft is stronger. Yeah, I don't know. The ears are the same. Jawline is similar. Bush has chubbier cheeks. There's definitely some similarities. I don't know, though. When you compare it to, I don't know. You guys decide what you think. I think that's a little too far for me, Vin. I'm on board with most conspiracies regarding JFK, but him and Bush, see, Bushes are a dynasty and so are the Kennedys. The idea of them being brothers is, are you saying they're half brothers? I just have a hard time believing that. Is that Joe Kennedy, Alan? See that? Oh, Joe. Well, that says JFK H. Bush up here. But Alan says that's Joe Kennedy. I don't know. Brett says, I think the guys in Step Brothers look closer than these two. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, I don't know, Vin. Even if that is really JFK and HW, it just doesn't. They don't look close enough to me to be brothers. I really don't. I don't see it. I do think Roberts is being blackmailed hero, and Alan says that's Joe Kennedy. So the plot thickens, friends. The plot thickens. By the way, hey, please take a second, like, subscribe, and hey, if you want to support the channel, there's multiple ways to do it. You could add a super chat or you can join. And for joining, it's $3 a month. You get members lives on Wednesday nights, members only, and then access to the Discord. So if you guys want to consider that, please do. Thank you for supporting the channel. And if nothing else, just give me a like and subscribe to grow, because YouTube hates my channel. I was just demonetized again the other night. And who knows tonight, now that we're talking about CIA. So it could be interesting. But and Rumble peeps, I see over there, even though the chat in Rumble pretty much died pretty quick. You guys threw a few out there and then just stopped talking. So YouTube is still the happening spot for the chat. Mike says, I believe Michelle and Barack Obama are quote unquote brothers. Listen, I mean, obviously there's a lot of speculation there. I wasn't going to talk about this because it doesn't really matter, but it is interesting that the Michelle is doing a podcast with her brother, and in it she just basically threw Obama under the bus about how she never wanted to be in the presidency and how much she hated it and stuff, which again, something I've been saying on this channel all along is why she's never going to run, because she hates politics. And so that was the truth. Candace writes and says, guys, you can't find a better channel and group of friends than right here. So thank you for that, Candace. That's a great Great promotion for the channel. Thank you. Walker says maybe Trump removed Hunter's SS protection so Ukrainian hitmen to get to him. Well, that's interesting. Man, we're getting dark tonight. We're getting dark. It's but you never know. Alan says it's Joe Kennedy with the wings on his coat. So this right here is Joe Kennedy. So you're saying this is Joe and John? Is that what you're saying? So, maybe. I don't know. I don't know enough. Vin sent me this picture. So either way, it's interesting. But all right. Margaret Thatcher was a Kennedy. It's supposedly, is everybody just a Kennedy now? Is that how it works? That'd be kind of crazy. Anyways, guys, hey, I'm gonna call it a night. I will be back tomorrow, members live tomorrow night. If you don't want to miss it, get in that members chat. Just $3. You just gotta get in, be with us in the members live tomorrow night. I will be covering whatever happens tomorrow, and if it's not too crazy, I'm going to be doing a deep dive on the markets tomorrow, where we're at, because things are getting crazy. There was some news today I saw is just nuts. So tomorrow, members live will be a lot of market talk. We'll talk Finger, we'll talk DJT, we'll talk GTII, and just the market in general, where we're at. So it should be interesting. I think things are going to happen really quick. Brett says, you guys can stay on YouTube. That's why you waited to do membership upgrade. Brett, for now, I'm definitely staying on YouTube. I'm not leaving soon. And if I do decide to fully go to Rumble, okay, if they do finally push me over there, which YouTube is trying, trust me. If I do decide to just completely go to Rumble for the lives, at least, I will give you guys plenty of heads up. So your membership will not be wasted. Let me put it that way. Yeah, there's so much to go through. So hopefully there's more JFK stuff that comes out in the next couple of days as well. That's really interesting. And for everybody else, if you just don't want to be a member, you just can't afford to give up your 7-Eleven $3 coffee once a month and join and be with the cool kids. If you just can't afford it, I totally understand. Just give it a like, and I will see you guys in a public live on Thursday. All right. So anyways, on that note, like, subscribe, and let's finish, as always, with a prayer. So Heavenly Father, thank you for today. God, thank you for just promises kept by the Trump administration. I pray that the JFK files do open up people's minds and hearts to what's really going on behind the scenes, even if there's not a crazy smoking gun. But I do pray there's more that comes out that wakes people up, and that these files continue to drop so our country can be on the right path to really understanding where we are, how we got here, and how to move forward the right way. It's time. We pray for peace in the Middle East as Israel and Gaza are back at it. We pray that the Ukraine-Russia deal is reached, so there's peace there. We pray for protection and wisdom for our leaders, God, at the top. And we just pray a blessing over our country moving forward, that we just really can get America back and better than it's ever been, and that our leaders are bold enough and wise enough to make it happen. And God, we pray for this group. I pray for everybody in this group for wisdom, navigating things going forward, and that you would just bless them, and that the awakening that everybody stepped into would lead to better things in all of our lives as we move forward. In Jesus' name, amen. All right. Love you guys. Bless you. Have a wonderful night. And members, I'll see you tomorrow. Everybody else, I will see you Thursday. Take it easy. Good night.